Today I'm going to show you 7 steps to servicing a feathering prop. To get a helpful checklist, check out the link below. This is Britican's prop. It's a 3-bladed maxi prop when the boat is going forward, that direction, and then when I go into reverse, swings around, comes back the other way. When we're sailing and we want to feather it, engage it, and then switch the engine off so it's still engaged, and what happens then is it goes into this position. So the water is going nicely. It probably gives us half a knot, which is excellent. Here is the propeller shaft. It goes through a P bracket, and inside the P bracket is a cutlass bearing, and that is made of rubber. Now if you have some movement within the shaft, even if it's only 1mm, you need to change the cutlass bearing. Whenever you haul out, you want to check that. Here the technician is putting back the rope cutter and starting to reassemble the propeller. During the service of the rope cutter, the white disc spacers need to be changed. Let me show you what a rope cutter does and how it works. If we go over a rope and it's spinning, what will happen is hopefully it will cut it as the prop is spinning. It can do a certain amount of rope, but if there's too much rope in there, then it can't cope. Rope cutters don't always work. Sometimes you have to jump in the water and cut it off yourself. Let's get back to assembling the prop. So here are the inner workings of the propeller. So here's the outer casing of the propeller. Now he's greasing it, he's pre-greasing it before he puts it back on. These need to be greased once a year, especially when you take it out. But we have a system that I can show you later of how you can still do this in the water, so you don't need to haul out. So the outer casing's going on now, and what he's putting them on with is Allen bolts, and he's just securing them nice and tight. So the technician is just lining the blades up. 1, 2 and 3 blade are going to coincide with 1, 2 and 3 on the outer casing of the propeller. He's just lining it up, getting it nice and straight, and then easing it back on. The numbers 1, 2 and 3 are already on the blades and the outer casing. There is a mark on the outer casing, and the blades have just got to be lined up with that. The technician made these 2 marks before disassembling, and he knew when he put everything back together in the right position, if those 2 marks were together, he knew that the propeller would be in the correct position. The technician is now securing the propeller with Allen bolts. Here's a great tip. We put on a grease nipple so I could go underwater and grease it anytime I wanted. Every 6 months is what I'm planning on doing. Here is an anode, and that is a sacrificial metal. What happens is with electricity going through the boat, if we didn't have this, it would eat the propeller. Keep changing it whenever it needs it. I change the anode about once a year, but when we were in the marina, especially in Charleston, we had to change it every 3 months. That's purely because there's lots of electricity in the water, and it just ate it away. Here's a great tip we got from Bill, our surveyor, is that we put anti-fouling paint in the holes where the bolts go through and attach it to the propeller. By doing so, this will prolong the life of the anode, because where the bolts are is very thin. I'm going to replace these anodes while we're out of the water because it's so much easier, but they can be replaced. In fact, all anodes on this boat can be replaced in the water. Has to be done with scuba gear, just takes a lot longer, and also you have to be a lot more careful, because if I drop it here I can pick it up, but if I drop it in the water, it depends how deep it is, I might not be able to retrieve the nut or the bolt. People in Charleston who did it last, who took it off, when they put the pins through, they just put the pins in. There was split pins, but they hadn't curled one of them round so it wouldn't come off. So a couple of the pins had come out and these were loose, and we could have lost the whole prop, and that's $5,000 to $6,000 of prop. So when you inspect your prop, make sure these pins are in and they're curled around. What I'm doing now is I'm polishing it, cleaning it all up so it's nice and smooth. Here is one I've done, here's one I'm halfway through, and here's one all rough that I'm going to do soon. Some sandpaper and just go nice and lightly over it. After sanding, I then put on 7 coats of egg white, letting it dry in between each coat. To get a helpful checklist, check out the link below.